What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Got another Week 8 preview and prediction video for you on the slate today. We're talking about another top 25 matchup, and it's a top 16 matchup in the ACC. We're going to Tallahassee, Florida, where the Florida State Seminoles are trying to prove still their contention for the college football playoff as they take on the Duke Blue Devils. Primetime game on ABC should be a lot of fun from Tallahassee, and we're going to dive on into it here, but I got to thank you guys for all the support the channel has seen. You guys know the drill. I just am very, very appreciative and blown away by all the support and the way the channel has grown this summer and during the college football season as well. It means a lot to me, and if you want to continue to show your support, hey, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell if you haven't done so already. It's the biggest way to help support what I do here, but there are other ways. In fact, another really huge way is just simply by watching the video, what a lot of you guys are doing right now, but you guys can do a lot more by liking, commenting, sharing, and anything else you guys feel like you are willing and or able to do, and you feel like that is needed if you would want to help support the channel. But again, all of that going to be up to you guys. So let's go ahead and dive on into Week 8 preview predictions. Duke, Florida State. This is going to be a fun one from Tallahassee. Really can't wait here to watch this one, but let's dive on into the stats that both these teams have put up so far this season. Let's talk about the road team first, as we usually do here, and that is the Duke Blue Devils, ranked 16th in the country. This is a Duke offense that has been rolling so far this year. Now, it took a big hit in the game against Notre Dame when Riley Leonard went down, and his status for this game is up in the air. Now, the Vegas line and the FPI numbers we're going to look at here in a second make it seem like Duke is going to be without Riley Leonard for this game. So that's the way at least that I'm going to treat it. However, if Riley Leonard were to play in this game, that would be a huge, huge get back for this Duke Blue Devil team. It still is a possibility, and without him, they're going to be relying on not a true freshman, I believe, but a freshman quarterback in Henry Beelan, who honestly just didn't have that great of a day last week against NC State. Now, on the season, he has 225 yards on 60% completion percentage for 3 touchdowns and 1 pick. The 3 touchdowns and 1 pick, very comparable to what Riley Leonard has done so far this year, because this has been an offense that has functioned with the ground game, right? Jordan Waters and Jaquez Moore, 2 huge parts of that. Waters with 426 yards, 9 touchdowns, Moore with 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Riley Leonard is a huge part to this rush game, 326 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 6.9 yards per carry here. So it's an offense that, look, this is what Mike Elko does. Smash mouth football. The offensive line has performed really, really well. It's a Duke offense that doesn't make mistakes, doesn't turn the football over, and they're a pretty solid enough third down team there as well. But smash mouth football is the name of the game for them, and the name of the game for their defense has been not allowing teams to score points. This is the 4th best scoring defense in the entire country, only behind those 3 teams that are in the Big Ten East, right? But besides the 3 teams in the Big Ten East, Duke has the 4th best scoring defense in the entire country. Their defense has performed really, really well. They're forcing their fair share of turnovers. They're generating pressure to opposing quarterbacks. They have a +9 sack margin on the season. As you see there, 14 minus 5, 9. That's where I got that number from. No, I didn't just make it up. This is a Duke defense, too, that has really, really impressed a lot of people, especially with their secondary. You take a look at the number of passes defended so far this year. Yeah, 30 passes defended for the Duke Blue Devils secondary so far this season. Well, not only for the secondary, but for really all of this defense as well. They've done a good job at getting their hands up at the line. It's a defensive front 7 that has performed really, really well in the rush defensive category here as well. So smash mouth football, defending smash mouth football, the name of the game for Mike Elko and the Duke Blue Devils. Meanwhile, when you talk about this Florida State team, you're talking about one of the most impressive teams across the entire country so far this season. Florida State has performed really, really well, and Jordan Travis is part of the reason why. 1,482 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That is all that Jordan Travis is, well, not all that Jordan Travis thrown this year. That was kind of referring to the pick, but only 1 pick. He has 63% completion percentage. He's performed really, really well for the Seminoles so far this season. This is a run game that has really been able to get going off the heels of Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili. as well as some other backs there. And Jordan Travis has flashed the ability with the legs here and there. He has 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. But the most impressive part of this offense has by far and away been this wide receiver core, and especially the former Michigan State Spartan Keon Coleman made a ridiculous catch against the Syracuse Orange, leads the team with 418 yards, 7 touchdowns, but you have more big play threats, right? Wilson, Bell, and even guys like Benson and Toafili out of the backfield are some really good pass catchers for them as well. Now, the one thing about this Florida State team, they also don't turn the football over. So there's that. The one thing about this Florida State team that I haven't really gotten a chance to speak on, but I've wanted to, was really this offense was performing really, really well, but you probably wanted to see that offensive line take some steps forward, right? Well, this is a Florida State team that did that this past week against Syracuse. Their offensive line stood up, dominated the Syracuse front, and Florida State looks like a very, very complete team in all aspects on the offensive end. Now, defensively, okay, you'd still like to see a little bit of improvement here, at least in terms of allowing opponents to gain fewer yards and maybe allowing opponents to score some fewer total of points, right? But when you take a look at what this defense has done overall, you can't be too disappointed with all the production that you've seen, right? 16 picks. Not 16 picks, 16 sacks. My apologies so far this season. The secondary, 34 passes defended. So again, Duke has a very impressive number with 30. Florida State beats that with 34 passes defended, 4 picks, 1 for a pick 6. They forced 5 fumbles, recovered 4 of them. That's where the 8 turnovers come in when you combine picks and fumbles. Really pretty good third down defense here as well. It's just allowing teams not to necessarily drive down the field as often as they are. This is the Florida State team that is pretty susceptible here to giving up the big plays. But for the most part, this is the Florida State defense that when it needs to is able to create pressure, has a lot of very, very good pass rushers, has a lot of very good members in the secondary. I mean, when you take a look at raw talent, it's one of the most raw, talented secondaries and defenses as a whole in the entire country. But that's going to lead me here into my what to watch for keys to the game, some things that I think you should keep an eye on while you are watching this one. Now, I know Riley Leonard's status is up in the air, but regardless if Leonard plays or not, you need to excel in the smash mouth style of football that Mike Elko loves to play. And it has worked for Duke all season long. And here's another thing for Duke, right? We'll talk about this a little bit more, but they don't make mistakes. They don't kill themselves with penalties. For the most part, they do a really good job at holding on to the football there as well. This is just a Duke team that doesn't make mistakes. So if you are going to excel in the smash mouth style of play, hold on to the ball, really dominate the game with your rushing ability. Oh, and also defensively as well. Yeah, be able to stop whatever Florida State has. Get your defensive front working. Be more physical than your opponent. That's the definition of smash mouth football. That word has been really hard for me to say, or that combination there. Slow down the pace of the game here as well. This is the Florida State team that is very, very prone to be explosive offensively. And again, as I just mentioned, they can give up the big play here or there defensively as well, but that's not what Duke is going to want to do here. You want to keep this Florida State offense off the field as much as possible, slow down the pace of the game, eat up a lot of clock. That's what, if you excel in the really putting forward the smash mouth style of football that Duke is going to want to play in this game, a real hard-nosed, run it down your throat ball game, right? The pace is going to slow down here, and it's going to favor the Duke Blue Devils. But defensively, big key for them, generate negative plays and force third down and long. This is a Florida State offense that, look, does a pretty good job no matter what yard length it is at forcing or at converting on third down. And it's an offense that has a lot of great playmakers and, again, can be explosive if it needs to be. So you got to be able to get Florida State moving backwards, force some takeaways if you are the Blue Devil defense as well, but also force them into third and longs. Let's talk about the keys for the Florida State Seminoles here. Look, quite simply, the wide receiver size is going to be a big difference maker here. Yes, Duke's secondary has been very impressive so far this season, but they have not faced a wide receiver core like this, especially with the size and the experience and the talent that Florida State brings to the table. So the Duke secondary has got to be ready. This is by far its biggest test of the season with the Florida State Seminoles. Seminoles, guys like Keon Coleman, guys like Wilson, guys, the monster that is Jaheim Bell in the tight end room. This is just going to be a very hard wide receiver room to defend for the Blue Devils secondary. And like I was talking about earlier, Duke does not make mistakes. Florida State's going to have to follow suit, and that doesn't just include turnovers. Florida State has not turned the football over a lot this year, so I'm not too worried about that, but you cannot kill yourselves with penalties. Part of the thing that Duke needs to do in order to generate negative plays and force third down and longs, well, Florida State cannot help them with that by penalizing themselves, by making the mental mistakes. You have to be disciplined like Duke is, or like Duke has been throughout this season. Now, not super worried here about this Florida State defense, given the momentum and the way that it has played over the past couple of games. Yeah, you let Virginia Tech get back in that game, but you really stifled them when it mattered most. If the Blue Devils offense gets going, whether Leonard is playing or whether you have Beelan starting at quarterback for this team, can the defense make enough stops? And can the defense come up large? Can the defense slow down this smash mouth style of play? And I believe that it can. I think Florida State's also playing with too much momentum right now. They have too many things going in the right direction for this team. It's why Vegas likes them by 14 points. And again, I'm going to sit here and act like Riley Leonard is not playing because I really have no reason to believe otherwise, right? Until I get confirmation that Riley Leonard is playing, I just don't really trust Duke here in this game. I think the defense is going to come up. They're going to make a couple of big stops here, but I do like the Florida State Seminoles in this game, 37-21. Now, if the Duke Blue Devils do get Riley Leonard in this game, I would expect them to beat the point spread here, or I would just expect that line to drop dramatically. But the way it currently sits right now, with Riley Leonard being a question mark and with the momentum Florida State has, love the way this offense is looking. This defense is only going to get better and improve. The offensive line took some big steps. Florida State will win this game in Tallahassee. That'll do it for my thoughts on this one. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.